A very good morning to my dear students. Once again, welcome back to 7th grade English class. Today we are actually going to discuss the remaining one chapter that is to be completed from your course book. Yeah, we are moving towards the last chapter. So, the Adventure of the Three Students, written by Arthur Conan Doyle. So, I hope that before getting started with this play, you have to know that this is actually a play or drama, and it is a very lengthy drama. So, as we did in the previous classes, today also what I am planning to do is actually going through the story not in a detailed manner, but we can just we can try to get the essence of the play. Okay. So, we do not have that much time to discuss it in a detailed manner. Okay. Anyway, before going to start this play, we can have a quick look at the preface portion. Okay. If you happen to see the question paper for your exam the day before the exam, what would you do? Would you use the information secretly to prepare for your exam, or would you tell your teacher about it and seek her advice? So, this is a situational question, because after 2 weeks you are going to face the examination, and imagine you happen to see the question paper of English 2 days before the examination. What would you do? So, that is actually the question. What would you do? Whether you copy it in somewhere else, or you report it to the teacher. What would you do? Okay, anyway, put that under a question mark. Then we can go to discuss the play. Okay, anyway, getting started with the play, you have to know that the play is divided into 3 scenes. So, we have 3 scenes in the play: scene 1, scene 2 and scene 3. The play is developing through the incidents that happen in scene 1, scene 2 and scene 3, and the main characters in the play are Holmes, Watson, Soames, Bannister, Gilchrist, Dhauladras, then Maclaren. So, Holmes is actually, him, a private detective, Sherlock Holmes. Then Watson is actually the friend of Sherlock Holmes. Then Soames is a college professor. Then Bannister is actually the servant of this college professor Soames. Then the 3 students, Gilchrist 1 student, then Dhauladras 2nd student and Maclaren 3rd students. Okay. So, scene 1 is actually the living room. So, we are actually going to start the play, and the play is about to start in the living room where Sherlock Holmes and Watson sat on a chair. Okay. Anyway, we can go to discuss the play. So, I hope that you got at least a background information about the play. Okay. Scene 1, a living room. Watson and Holmes are seated around the fireplace reading. Mr. Hilton Soames knocks and enters. He is clearly upset. So, the first scene is, as you can see in the image given there is a fireplace, and in front of the fireplace Holmes and Watson were seated on a chair. At the time entered a man. Okay, entered a man called this college professor Soames. Then the conversation is going on. Soames, I trust, Mr. Holmes, that you can spare me a few hours of your valuable time. We have had an awful incident at the college, St. Luke's, and I am at loss about what to do. Holmes, I am very busy just now. I desire no distractions. I should much prefer that you call the police. Soames, no, my dear sir, such a course is impossible. It is essential to avoid a scandal. Your discretion is as well known as your powers of deduction, and you are the one who can help me. I beg you, Mr. Holmes, to do what you can. So, the first scene, in the first scene, Watson and Holmes were seated on a chair, and at that time the college professor entered, and the college professor mentioned that he was in a very critical stage. So, he actually took the help, he actually requested the help of this private detective known as Holmes. And Sherlock Holmes, at that time when Soames asked about a help, Holmes replied not in a disinterested manner. He said that it was better to hand over that particular case to policeman or something like that, and he said that he did not have that much time to investigate that case. So, he conveyed him that it was better to hand over the case to some policeman. Then Soames urged, Soames said that it was not like that. Yeah, Soames replied that he actually needed the support of, or needed the help of Holmes, and he said that Holmes, there would be anyone other than him who could help Soames in this particular situation. Okay, then read the next part. Soames: I must explain to you, Mr. Holmes, that tomorrow is the examination for a scholarship at the college. I am one of the examiners. Like in any examination, it would be an advantage if the candidate could see the examination paper in advance. For this reason, great care is taken to keep the paper a secret. Today about 3 o'clock, the proofs of the paper arrived from the printers. I had to read it over carefully because the text must be absolutely correct. At 4:30, I left the proof upon my desk and went for a tea to a friend's room. Watson, how long were you away? I was absent for more than an hour. And as I approached my door, I was amazed to see a key in it. First, I imagined that I had left my own there, but on feeling in my pocket, I found that my key was safe. The only duplicate which exists is that which belongs to my servant Bannister, a honest man who has looked after my room for 10 years. The moment I looked at my table, I was aware that someone had rummaged through my papers. The proof was in 3 pages. I had left them all together. Now I found one of them lying on the floor. One on the side table near the window, and the third was where I had left. The first page on the floor, Holmes, the first page on the floor, the second near the window, the third where you left it. Soames, exactly, Mr. Holmes. Pray continue, Holmes, pray continue your very interesting statement. Soames, I found out that the key was indeed Bannister's, that he had entered my room to know if I wanted tea, and that he had very carelessly left the key in the door when he came out. For an instant, I imagined that Bannister had taken the liberty of examining my papers. Okay. So, then Soames started to explain the condition to Holmes. Soames said that it was actually the eve of the examination. So, Soames had to prepare the question paper. So, after preparing, Soames had to conduct the examination without any malpractices. Okay. So, after preparing the question paper, Soames sent these question papers to the printing press in order to get print, and after printing they actually submitted a specimen copy in order to check the mistakes, and Soames was actually doing the correction proofreading, and when it was actually 4:30, he left the room without locking the door. Then he went to have the tea at 4:30. Then he came back after 1 hour. At the time, he saw that there was a key in the keyhole. Okay. Then he was shocked. So, first he thought that it was his own key and he forgot to take the key. But later, when he found that his key was in his own pocket, again his surprise got doubled. Then he thought that maybe Bannister, his servant came there in order to check whether his master had tea or something like that, in order to know whether the master had tea. So, at that time it might be he who opened the door. So, in that way he explained the situation to the private detective Holmes. But while he entered the room, he found a very surprising incident. Yeah, the papers, there were 3 papers, question papers, and all these 3 papers were scattered here and there on 3 different places. At that time he really got excited, because tomorrow is or within some days the exam has to be conducted. So, if it was leaked, then he could not conduct the exam in the right manner, because yeah, the reward is a high scholarship. So, they had to pay a huge amount as scholarship. If the question paper was released, or if the question paper was leaked, then more people would get a high mark. So, they had to give this huge amount of money to many people. So, that would definitely create some problems. So, in that way he became panic. So, when he explained these things to Holmes, Holmes was interested, and Holmes asked him to continue the story. So, then Holmes then Soames said that maybe then Soames said that he also he thought that maybe his servant came there, and it was he who opened the door, and maybe he checked the papers. Okay, so that is what here it is said that for an instant I imagined that Bannister had taken the liberty of examining my papers. So, he thought that maybe his servant came there, and he might be taken the liberty of examining the papers. So, in that way he thought that there was nothing to worry about. Watson, well, did he? He denied my knowledge, any knowledge of it. He was very upset by the incident that had nearly fainted when we found the papers had been tampered with. I gave him some medicine and left him collapsed in a chair. Holmes, I see. Soames, the alternative is that someone passing had seen the key in the door and had entered to look at the papers. The scholarship is a large sum of money, and a dishonest student might try to gain an advantage over his fellows. What did you do next, Mr. Soames? Soames, I made a careful examination of the room. I soon saw that the intruder had left other traces of his presence too. On the table near the window were several shreds from a pencil which had been sharpened. A broken tip of lead was lying there too. Excellent, fortune has been your friend. This was not at all. I have a new writing table with a fine surface of red leather. I found a clean cut in about 3 inches long. Not only this, but on the table I found a small bit of black clay with specks of something which looks like sawdust in it. You see, either I must find the person responsible, or else the examination must be postponed until new papers are prepared, and the latter would become a scandal. I desire to settle the matter discreetly. Then Watson intervened and asked about Soames whether Bannister took the paper in order to examine it. When Soames asked about these things to Bannister, Bannister said that he didn't know anything, and at that time Bannister fainted and he went to a very coma stage, and he admitted him in a hospital or something like that, left him collapsed in a chair. That means then so taking his condition, he gave him some medicine or something like that. Okay. Not admitted in the hospital, but gave him some medicines. Okay. And then Soames gave another conclusion that maybe some students passing near the door saw that the door was opened. Maybe he came into the room, and he would have taken the liberty of taking the answer sheets and copying it in somewhere. So, that might be the thing that would happen there. If it happened, then what would be the credibility of the exam? A crooked person could easily win the scholarship over the hardworking people. So, that tendency he wanted to stop that tendency. So, in that way he was actually asking the timely help of Holmes. And moreover, Soames said that the intruder, the person who intruded the room, remained some clues. Yeah, actually there was actually a cut mark on the table, then there were shrubs of pencil here and there. So, in that way the person actually made some indications that the intruder had been there for a while. Okay. So, in that way he explained everything to Holmes. Now, turn over the page. Yes, okay. Holmes, I shall be happy to look into it. Had anyone visited you in your room after the papers came to you? Then Holmes was little more interested in this case, because it was very interesting to hear. Then Holmes asked Soames that whether somebody had arrived into his room after the papers came to you. That means, yeah, Holmes asked Soames whether he had any guest after the paper came from the printing press. Okay. Soames, yes, young Dauladras, a student, came in to ask me some questions about the examination. Holmes, for which he entered the room while the papers were on your table. Yes, but they were rolled up, but might be recognized as proofs, possibly. Did anyone know that these proofs would be there? No one save the printer. Did this man Bannister know? No, certainly not. No one knew. Where is Bannister now? He was very ill, poor fellow. I left him collapsed in the chair. I was in such a hurry to come to you. You left your door open. I locked up the papers first. Then, unless Dauladras recognized the roll as being proofs, the man who tampered with them came upon them accidentally without knowing that they were there. So it seems to be. Well, let us go round, Watson. Mr. Soames, we are at your disposal. So then there occurred a conversation between Soames and Holmes. Sherlock Holmes asked many questions to Soames. First, Holmes asked Soames whether he had any visitors after he received the paper from the printing press. Then Soames said that, yeah, one student actually approached him to clarify some doubts. Then Holmes again asked, at the time, were the papers on the table? Yeah. Then Soames said that even though, yeah, the papers were there on the table, but it was actually rolled up. Then Holmes again asked about Bannister. Then Soames asked that he was actually, when hearing all these things, he lost his control and he was in a collapsed stage. Then Watson gave a conclusion that, yeah, someone unknowingly came there and tampered the paper without knowing that those were question papers. So, in that way Watson gave his own conclusion. Okay. So, in that way the first scene ends. Okay. So, the first scene took place in a living room where Holmes, Watson and Soames were there, and Holmes and Watson were discussing something in the beginning. Then Soames came there and introduced his problems. Then there was a triangular detailed discussion of this problem. So, in that way the first scene ends here. So, this is all about today. I think we can wind up at this point. So, today we actually discussed the first scene, I mean the beginning scene in the play, The Adventure of the Three Students. So, I hope that you understood everything which we discussed. So, anyway, the remaining two scenes, scene number 2 and scene number 3 will be discussed in the coming class. So, we can wind up at this point. Anyway, thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.